Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and today I am happy to bring you my fourth game in the Pokemon Premier League, the PPL. Yes indeed. Now, last week we suffered our first loss of the season, a really excruciatingly close 1-0 loss to the Orlando City Cobalions, now rebranded as the Portland Timbers. So we suffered our first loss last week, giving us 2 wins, 1 loss, so I really wanted to get back on track with a win this week. And speaking of people who wanted to win this week, my opponent was none other than the league's founder and creator, Jack, aka the Donphanatic. Last week he picked up his first win of the season and was looking to continue his run of good form with his team, who are, of course, Tottenham Hotespurr. Nearly forgot it there, but I pulled it back just at the end. Yes, Jack is the manager of Tottenham Hotspur, and I was nervous going into this match because he has a very bulky team. I'm going to run down his team very quickly. I can just see it in the corner of my screen. He has got on his squad Mega-Alakazam, Salamence, Empoleon, Aromatisse, Cresselia. Yeah, that's right. Terrakion, Raikou, Chandelure, Tangrowth, and Hitmonlee. Really threatening team, lots of bulk, lots of offensive presence. And by the way, before we get into this, I should say I'm on the other side of the screen because I was a scrub and I forgot to record my side, which is, a bit of a problem, but we're going to roll with it. Just going to remove the power cable. Apparently it helps with recording. Who knew? Not me. Right, so I'm going to get onto the team I brought to go against the Donphanatic and his Tottenham Hotspurs. So, first up, I brought Zapdos. Now, this is a Scarfed Zapdos. I believe it's a hasty nature, and we are rocking Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Hidden Power Ice, and Drill Peck. Now, Jack does lack an electric immunity, which means I can sort of Volt Switch with impunity whenever I see fit. And with a Scarfed Zapdos, that's going to be fairly easy. Easy to get that initiative going. The reason I have Drill Peck on there, the reason this is a mixed Zapdos, I was absolutely terrified of the prospect of him bringing his Hitmonlee. His Hitmonlee has the coverage, depending on whichever set he runs, to really put the work in against my entire squad. With its stab moves, its list of priority, knockoff, Stone Edge, things like that, he could run Endure Reversal. Hitmonlee is incredibly offensively versatile in that respect, and I was so worried about him bringing it. I had convinced myself before the game that he was going to bring an Assault Vest Rapid Spinning Hitmonlee, and I'll get into the reasons why I thought that as I go through my team. So second up, I decided to bring Gyarados once again. This is a sub Dragon Dance Gyarados with Waterfall and Bounce, which puts in the work against a lot of his team. He doesn't really have too much in the way of resistances to that aside from his Empoleon. But once again, I'd convinced myself he wasn't going to bring his Empoleon, and once again I'll get onto the reasons for that with my next pick. But sub Dragon Dance Gyarados is going to be one of my best options at sweeping his team if the Empoleon is not around. So, third up, as my screen goes black for a little bit, third up I decided to debut Bisharp. Now, his main defensive core he's got going on includes Cresselia and what is now Aromatisse. It was Umbreon, he's traded that out week 2 for Aromatisse. That's a Fairy Psychic core, and whilst I was certain he wasn't going to bring both of them, I couldn't not bring Bisharp. Against a Psychic and Fairy core, I couldn't not bring Bisharp. I had to bring Bisharp, in case he brought one or both of them. Now, Bisharp is also the reason why I was convinced of those 2 picks I mentioned earlier, Empoleon and Hitmonlee. Defog Bisharp, as I've said before, to quote Erasmus, +2 Bisharp is a death sentence, and Defog really is going to be able to put in the work against him if he brings it against my Bisharp, which is why I thought he wouldn't be bringing Empoleon, and why I thought he would be bringing Hitmonlee. Because Hitmonlee could Rapid Spin without giving Bisharp a potential +2, and still put in offensive work against my team. But, I had to bring Bisharp. I brought a Focus Sash Swords Dance set, just in case he didn't bring Defog, with Iron Head, Sucker Punch and Knockoff, fairly standard spread as you would expect to see on any given Bisharp. So fourth member of my team was Meloetta. This is exactly the same Meloetta as I bought last week, with just a couple of changes to the moveset. Same spread of EVs, max HP 92 in special attack and 164 in special defense, modest natured assault vest. This is my go-to switch when he brings in Alakazam. When he brings in Alakazam, I bring in Meloetta. Because with the spread I've got, I believe the calcs are right. If my calculations are correct, Alakazam's best option to hit Meloetta, and I shit you not, is Knockoff. Knockoff is genuinely his best bet. A physical attack, because Meloetta can tank the hits. And the moves I've got, Hyper Voice, Psyshock, Shadow Ball, and Focus Blast. Focus Blast is there just in case he does decide to bring that pesky Empoleon. Hyper Voice is going to be very useful, because I fully expected him to bring Mega-Alakazam to play mind games in my buy shop. I fully expected substitute on Alakazam. So Hyper Voice is a nice 2-hit KO with my investment on your Common or Garden Megazam. Fifth member of the team is going to be Piloswine. This is a physically defensive Piloswine. Earthquake, Icicle Spear, Ice Shard and Stealth Rock. Stealth Rock is there to put pressure on his Empoleon if he does bring it with Defog. And you know, I need the physical defense because I also thought he was going to be bringing Moximents. I was afraid of Moximents, and with the investment, the max physical investment, I can switch in on an Outrage, tank another one, go for Icicle Spear, finish it off with Ice Shard. So that was Piloswine's job, and to get up rocks where I could, you know. Final member of the team is going to be another debutant. It's going to be Dusclops. Yes, I decided to bring Dusclops. Once again, this is a max physical defense Dusclops. It is rocking the dual status with Will-O-Wisp and Toxic. Also rocking Pain Split and what was my last move? Nightshade. This is there for the Terrakion, should he want to bring it. Terrakion is a big threat to any team, especially mine, with the kind of coverage it gets, but it really can't touch Dusclops outside of setting up Swords Dances. And I was rather hoping he wouldn't bring that. I actually thought he was going to bring Scarfed Terrakion to outspeed my potential Mega-Gallade. But of course, Mega-Gallade is not on this team. I took a big risk this week. I did not bring two of my big players. Didn't bring Mega-Gallade, didn't bring Whimsicott, because I thought he would predict Encore Taunt shenanigans with Whimsicott against his, once again, that Cresselia Aromatisse core. So I didn't bring my Whimsicott for that reason. So, let's get into the team that Jack did end up bringing. As you can see from left to right across the screen, he brought Megazam, Terrakion, Empoleon, Tangrowth, Chandelure, and Cresselia. Now, I breathed a huge sigh of relief when I didn't see Hitmonlee. I was also very happy not to see Raikou. But the Empoleon was there, the Terrakion was there, and of course there's that ever-present bloody Cresselia. So, my game plan really was to either get rid of entirely or get enormous damage as much as possible on that Empoleon, which would ideally give Gyarados an opportunity to sweep. If not, I'd be having to tank special hits with Meloetta, put some work in with that, you know, get rocks up where I could, chip damage with Zapdos, try and pass around statuses on his Terrakion, try and get a burn on that. I was really looking forward to the prospect of getting a burn on that, whilst trying to play around that Chandelure with the Flash Fire. It was always going to be a difficult game, this one. I would have to play very well and take my chances to set up when I got them. So, that's enough of the preamble. I've talked for enough time. Let's get into the battle and see how things played out. Right, so here we go, getting underway with the battle. I'm on the opposite side, as I said. I lead with my Dusclops. This is a Frisk Dusclops because I predicted him to leave with Terrakion. I wanted to know what kind of Terrakion it was. He ends up just going straight on the offensive, leading off with his Alakazam. But, as I've said, as soon as I see Alakazam, I'm making one move and one move alone, and that's going straight into Meloetta. Because Meloetta, as I've said, eats up the hits, even from a Mega-Alakazam. Even with base 175 special attack, Megazam isn't really much of a threat to this Meloetta. He is able to trace my Serene Grace, which is a little bit of a worry depending on his moveset, and he ends up going for the substitute, which I did predict him to have, just as I said, to play those mind games with the Bisharp. He is packing the Focus Blast, that's one of his main coverage moves, but as you can see from the damage it does to this Meloetta, very little. And I'm packing the Hyper Voice. Of course, it's sound based, it's going to go through that sub and do monumental damage. Here, I'm going to predict him to switch into Chandelure, wanting to save this Megazam. He actually ends up going into Empoleon, which is fine because I'm going to go for Shadow Ball, which is nice and neutral. And this is going to allow me to get as much damage as possible on this Empoleon. I do get the Spadef drop, which is really nice indeed. He's going to get some leftovers back, I'm absolutely fine with it. I will be outspeeding it, and that Focus Blast. That's another one of my coverage moves. I'm going to land it on the Empoleon with that Spadef drop. It's going to do enormous damage. And one of the key things I wanted to do, damage the Empoleon. And I've managed to do that really early game. Meloetta putting in a nice amount of work, punching holes in Donphanatic's team. So he's going to switch out here, make the switch, and go into his Cresselia, his go-to wall. I'm just going to go for Shadow Ball. I saw no reason not to because I did get, of course, that Spadef drop earlier on. I was thinking Shadow Ball would take it out from there. And it's doing a decent amount of damage to Cresselia. With the leftovers, he's still got a nice amount of health left. But he can't really touch me, I don't think, so I'm just going to stay in. I thought about this for a while and thought, you know what, I've got no reason not to stay in. So I go for Shadow Ball. He's going to go for the Moonblast. And, this isn't going to be an offensive build of Crest, so this is really going to do very little. But he does get a special attack drop, so here, I think he's got a perfect opportunity to heal up with Moonlight, because he's got the special attack drop, I won't be doing as much. So, I see my opportunity to go into my Gyarados. It is time. It is time for Gyarados to try and actually do some work. The past 3 weeks, it's really not been doing much for me. Just getting a kill here and there and then dying a lot. As predicted, he does go for the Moonlight, and I was running Calcs, and a non-invested Moonblast can't break Gyarados' substitute, which is going to be really crucial if I want to try and set up on this Cresselia, and it will sort of force him to scramble for another option. So I do pop a sub right about now with my Gyarados as Cresselia goes for Toxic. This is huge. It's a wasted turn. He doesn't get a status on me. I am, of course, behind my sub, safe from the shenanigans of this nasty Cresselia. He wants to save it. It's obviously a very important member of his team. He's going to go out into his Tangrowth. And, Tangrowth obviously has monumental physical defense. And it was for this reason that I put Bounce on my Gyarados. So I'm going to go for a Dragon Dance, safe behind my substitute, thinking he's just gone into this to tank a hit. But there's not necessarily anything he can do to me in response. So I feel safe behind my sub to go for a second Dragon Dance, get myself to +2 attack, +2 speed, and I'm looking in a really, really good position at this point. Very happy with what's happening. I'm sitting behind my sub with 2 Dragon Dances up. What can he do to me? I think there's nothing. Turns out, Jack's smarter than the average bear. He's going to pack the Rock Slide specifically for this kind of Pokemon that I was going to be bringing. He's got the Rock Slide there to deal with Gyarados. And, I'm still not particularly scared. I'm at a good amount of health. Tangrowth is not necessarily the most powerful physically offensively. I'm just going to go for Bounce. I see no reason not to. There is a chance at +2 if he's not invested too much that I can one-hit KO him. And this is going to be the telling factor because he's obviously going to miss, and now we'll find out if he's physically defensive. Turns out he's scared, so I'm thinking he might be specially invested. He's going to switch out and sack his Empoleon, which I was so happy to see. Because with Empoleon gone, there's really nothing stopping Gyarados at this point. There is nothing stopping Gyarados. It is time. If I can get myself back behind a substitute, I'm going to be in a really, really good position, because even if he's got something sashed, I'll be happy behind a sub. He's going to make a really nice play here and go into his Megazam to trace my Intimidate and get me down to -1. Here, I'm going to make something of an overprediction, because I think he's going to then switch out to switch back in to get another Intimidate. So I'm going to pop the sub, see if that's what he's going to do. Turns out he's packing the Charge Beam, which is a scary thing, the possibility of Alakazam getting to +1 special attack off an offensive move. He's got the Charge Beam, and he's going to obviously destroy my substitute and get the special attack boost, but at this point I see he's not switching out, and obviously I'm at +2, I am going to outspeed him. At this point I can just go for a Waterfall and take out the Megazam. So that is an enormous threat from Donphanatic's team gone from the field. And Gyarados is still looking really, really good. So now I'm thinking, what has he got left to go into? What can take on this thing? And he goes into the Chandelure. And here I was thinking, he must be sashed. It's the only reason he'd go into it. Turns out, however, he is not sashed at all, ladies and gentlemen. He is going to go down. He ended up being scarfed with Willow, which is a really nice idea to run. But it's not going to work out from here, because at +2, of course, I do outspeed the Scarfer. Chandelure is not blindingly quick. It's quick, but it's not quick enough at this point. So he's going to go into his Cresselia. I have no reason not to go for a substitute here. I really don't. He's going to reveal his 4th move, which is Ice Beam, which unfortunately for him isn't going to come close to breaking my substitute, you know. Gyarados is completely safe behind the sub. There is nothing his Cresselia can do. There is nothing any of the rest of his team can do. And that is going to be it. So yes, that is indeed going to be the game. Jack, Donphanatic, realising that, you know, this game was only going to go one way. He decided not to prolong the inevitable, really, and just take the forfeit. Because what would have happened there is I could always get behind a sub for Cresselia. I would have just set up to +6, and eventually I would have taken out his team with Gyarados. So I say, rather than prolong the inevitable, Jack decided to take the forfeit, and that is going to result in a 6-0. An actual, genuine, honest-to-God 6-0. And we discussed it later, and Gyarados is going to be credited with those 6 KOs, because as we say, the forfeit was not just a moment, a fit of pique. It was going to delay the inevitable end of the game, where Gyarados would have eventually got all those KOs. There was not really anything he could have done about it. He told me later that his Terrakion was Life Orbed, so there was no sash there. The Tangrowth eventually would have been taken down by Bounce, and the Cresselia would have eventually been taken down by a combination of moves I decided to go to. So, you know, yes, that is going to be it from this 4th game of the season, the first 6-0, and I'm happy to say it's gone to me. I'm really, really excited for that to have happened. So, yes, that is it. Good game, Donphanatic. He just got unfortunate, really, that I was able to take my chance to set up when I did. But yeah, you know, Donphanatic is a fantastic player. He's going to bounce back from this, for sure. It's still early days, you know, we've still got 7 games left to go, and the race is not over for anybody. Absolutely not. But it is especially not over for us, ladies and gentlemen, because, you know, we're sitting in a good position in the table. Won't be revealing too much, because games may not have gone up from other channels yet. But, you know, I can reveal, you know, 3 wins, 1 loss. We're sitting in a good position on the table. I'm very confident about the direction this season is going. Next week, we are going to be facing off against the Pittsburgh Pyrals and their coach, Slyro. He has got some tricksy things on his team, as well as one of the most expensive Pokemon picks in the form of Mega Pinsir. So we're going to have a work cut out, for sure. But we're certainly going to give it our all. And yeah, you know, we're still looking to take the victory in this season, you know. It's a very open season still, and it's still anybody's game. Definitely do make sure to go and check out Jack the Donphanatic. He is responsible for setting up this entire league, and he's got a wonderful channel. He's a very good friend of mine. He's got some fantastic content. Definitely go and check him out. You'll see not only his side of this battle, but all his other battles in the PPL and various other fantastic content. Also, be sure to check out the PPL channel and Twitter to keep up with all things PPL. Those links will be in the description too. Tripping over my words. And of course, through them you can find everyone else involved with the PPL. Check out their channels, check out their battles. All of them are fantastic people, and I highly encourage you to check them out. But yes, I have rambled on for long enough. That is going to be it from this video. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed. Keep supporting Parasect Germain, guys. We are going for the top. But with that, I guess, until next time, laters.